Mr. Rops here. So today we're going to talk about common factoring and factor the GDC and all kinds of things. But to do it, we have to first think about what in the world is a factor. I have a special guest here today.
Okay.
Could you define what a factor is for me?
Factor is when you multiply two numbers to get another one.
Two numbers multiply to get a third, to get a number. So for example, what are the factors of 12, Riley?
3 and 4, 2 and 6, and 1 and 12.
All right, so we know I get 3 and 4, 2, 6, 1, 12. Those are the factors of 12. If I look at the factors of 16, what are those?
2 and 8, 4 and 4, and 1 and 16.
8, 4 and 4, and 1 and 16. And so if I'm looking for the greatest common factor, the GCF, the ones that's largest in both, well, that's going to be 4 and 4 here. And so look at the greatest common factor is 4. That's what we call the greatest common factors. It's common in both of these numbers. Can you look at 27 and 36, think about all the factors and pull out the common factor?
Me?
Yeah. What are the factors of 27?
Should I say the common factor? It's 9.
Oh, you know it's going to be 9 already. Super. It is going to be 9 because this is 1, 3, 9, and 27. If I think about 36, I get, a whole bunch more. I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18, and 36. And so 9 is the largest one in both of these lists. Okay, so now we're going to go to the polynomial here, or not the polynomial, yeah, the polynomial here. So if I look at all the work that I have, I'm looking for the greatest common factor of this particular term here. Well, if I think about this first term, 9x squared, well, that could be, if I think about the 9, that's a 1, a 3, and a 9 are the factors. And for the x squared, it's an x and an x. If I look at the 6x, well, I could get a 1, a 2, and a 3, and a 6, and an x. And so if I look at what's common, well, I have a 3 that's common. That's the greatest number. And I have an x that is common. And so the greatest common factor is always going to be 3 and x's that they share. That's the greatest common factor for those two. Now, remember from last year, you had to simplify this. You have to distribute this in, is what you've done. If I go 3x times 3x, I get
9x squared.
Super. And 3x times a negative 2?
Negative 6x.
Awesome. So what do you notice now between this and this here? What do you notice between these things? What I notice is that 3x is this factor here in front. That's the greatest common factor. And what's left is 3x minus 2. And these two things equal each other. And so 3x is what we call the greatest common factor. It's common to both of these terms here. So let's do an example. If we do it, we're going to remind you that you have to do some guided notes, okay? And so when you see from recall, what I want you to do is I want you to watch me do it and then then try it yourself without looking at the video or the notes, and then check with the video to see if you're right. Okay, so if I'm going to factor this one, I'm looking at these terms here. What number does 2x have and 6 have in common? Well, that number is going to be 2. I pull out the 2 from this term, and I'm left with x. If I pull out 2 from 6, what am I left with, Riley?
3.
Super. All right, so this factors to here, and then check it for yourself. So pause the video, try it yourself. Okay, so now B part, I want you to guess first. Now I want you to try this problem first. Pause the video, try it, and then check to see if you're right. So now, if I look at these two terms, what number is common in both of those?
5.
Super. They both have different variables, so they have nothing in common there. So if I take a 5 out of 10x, how much am I left with?
2.
And the variable is
X.
x. And if I take it out of 15y, take 5 out of 15y, I'm left with?
3. X.
Oh, y.
Oh, sorry.
Y this time. Okay. Did you get it right? Here's your check. You should write in your check. If you got it correct, you're good. If you didn't, you should put it in there. Okay. So now, watch this first. Watch me do it, and then don't copy anything down. Just watch. When I look at this term, I get m is in common here. Okay, and so I get m. I can pull out m as a factor, and what's left in here is a 2n plus, well, what does m multiply by to get m?
1.
Exactly. Okay, so now pause the video, hide it, and see if you can do it yourself. All right, we'll keep on doing another example. When we move to D part, now I have negative 4a and negative 8. Okay, watch me do it first, then you're going to try and do it yourself after I've done it. I'm going to pull out what's common from negative 4a and negative 8 is
Negative 4.
super. So I pull out my negative 4, and when I pull out negative 4, what's left in here?
You mean the A?
Exactly, a is left, because I go negative 4 times a, and I get negative 4a. The second part, what do I have to multiply negative 4 by to get a negative 8?
2.
Positive or negative? Positive,
Yeah.
exactly. So negative 4 times a positive 2, that's a tricky one. Make sure you check it. Okay, so again, you should either by recall or by guessing, try this one. Look at each of these terms and see what is common. And when I look at it, I know they're all even, so they're going to have a 2 in common. And they all have at least one m, and they all have at least one n. And so if I pull out a 2mn from this term, I get a 4m. These two multiply to get 8m squared n, plus, well, a 3, the m has been pulled out, an n, plus I get a 5, the mn are already here, and this is a factorization. Pause the video, hide it, try it yourself. And finally, the last one here, I'd like you to try this one yourself. Pause the video, try it, see how you're doing. It's pretty hard. Oh, you tried it? Okay, now that you're back, the common factor here is going to be a 4 is the number from each of those terms. If I look at the letters, I have a cubed, a squared, a, so a to the power 1. B to the 4th, b cubed, b to the power 1, so b. C to the 7th, c cubed, c squared, so c squared is the smallest exponent. So 4abc squared is the largest common factor. And so I think about the numbers, and I know this number is going to be a 3, because 4 times 3 is 12. A times a squared gives me a cubed. B times b cubed gives me b to the 4th. And then c squared times c to the 5th gives me c to the 7th. Plus 4a b squared c. Because if I multiply these together, I get this term here in the middle. And finally, minus a 2, because ABC squared is here. All right, so there's your introduction to a common factor. It's the one you always have to look for first. Good luck.